Now, in business, regional integration, infrastructural development, sufficient movement of goods and services leading to, of course, reinforcement of amicable relationships among African countries are some of the blessings of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Konstantinos Barhe, who is a public policy advisor, made the remarks in an exclusive interview with ETV. However, lack of peace and security and issues of infrastructure and state sustainability need to be properly addressed for the viability of the largest trade agreement on the continent, he said. We have more on that. The African Continental Free Trade Area envisions accelerating intra-African trade and boosting Africa's trading position in the global market by strengthening the continent's common voice and policy space in global trade negotiations. In an exclusive interview with ETV English, Konstantinos Barhe, who is a public policy advisor, has outlined the major benefits of the largest trade agreement.
The main tenet behind the African Continental Free Trade Area is to ensure there is sufficient movement of goods and services among African countries. And the incentive for African countries is that everything that's imported from other continents will be subject to taxes and tariffs. But this time, with this new agreement, any goods and service movement between African countries will not be subjected to tariffs and taxes. So it will give Africa the incentive to produce more and to sell more within Africa itself. So for one, it helps the industrial development of the continent. And the second thing is it would ensure that there is free flow of trade in goods and services between the countries. The collateral impact of such a relationship would be the kind of peace and security that would prevail between countries, especially in border areas.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is widely believed to be an important drive for economic growth, women empowerment, industrialization, sustainable development, etc. However, despite these opportunities, there are some challenges looming large that need to be addressed.
For example, DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, has an estimated mineral wealth amounting to $24 trillion. This is more than the US or China's GDP. But this is the poorest country in the world. So unless you have peace and security, this is not going to happen. The second thing is the infrastructure connectivity. You need roads, rail, and air connectivity in Africa. Of course, Ethiopian Airlines has done a wonderful job now connecting Africa, but the challenge are much of the goods and services will be transported on surface. The other problem, of course, is the sustainability of states in Africa, because anytime you can have a military coup or disturbance within countries, and therefore that could be detrimental to any free trade agreement.
The scholar also suggests the remedies to the issues.
Well, for one, at the Africa level, the NEPAD had started a major initiative called the Program of Infrastructure Development for Africa. I actually moderated one of their meetings in Abidjan at the African Development Bank about 2 or 3 years ago. They're trying to collect $69 billion to develop the infrastructure across Africa. So that's one opportunity we have if they get the money for it, or if we have institutional investors who would be interested to invest in this. Others like the World Bank and the African Development Bank can also help. The United Nations can lobby for more resources for this. The second thing is, I think the peace and security situation in Africa has to improve. The African Union has yet to do a lot of work on this.
Africa is endowed with untapped and huge land and water potential, and the trade agreement will undoubtedly lift the continent to a higher level. However, this calls for extra commitment on the part of individual countries on the continent and the AU for its practicality.
Asinabel, asinaganae, iyo, asinabel, iyo,
You're still watching this News Hour. In our continental news, the Seychelles on Sunday began its vaccination campaign against the new coronavirus. The country's health minister made the announcement, which makes Seychelles